Hello everyone, my name is Teddie and I'm a flutist specializing in historical performance. I live in Germany and today I'm happy to be sharing my thoughts about music and photography, which is another passion of mine. There are indeed a lot of parallels between music and photography, and I like to talk about three of them which for me stand out the most. So first of all, I find a correlation between light and sound. In music, we work with sound. In photography, we work with light. As musicians, we shape sound through the use of different dynamics, articulation, vibrato for some people. In photography, we use different qualities of light to convey a certain mood or expression. And in the process of creating, we ask ourselves these questions. Do we want to have a direct lighting that creates contrasting shadows? Or do we want to have light that's more generous and wrapping around the subject? Do we want an overall dark location? Or a bright one? It's most interesting when the light contributes to the storytelling of the image. So if you find an image particularly eye-catching, chances are it's because the light is expressing something, whether it's creating a mood, highlighting the form of an object, highlighting texture, or simply just inviting the viewer into the space. If the light is flat, if it doesn't give that sense of depth or three-dimensional effect, then that's comparable to when we play music in a relatively neutral way. So no or very little variation in dynamics, articulation, phrasing, and so forth. But don't get me wrong here, there will be moments when we might want to have that effect, that the music should stay in a phase, or that we don't want to have contrasty light, or simply that was the natural lighting of the moment. So the important thing is just that you are aware of it and ideally use it as a tool of expression. So both sound and light are the absolute basis in the art of music and photography. They are both intangible mediums, and our artistic aspiration in both disciplines is about how to handle them skillfully. Another parallel I found in music and photography is the use of negative space. Now, negative space is the space between, within, and around objects. One time a mentor of mine told me to focus on the negative space between objects, which will then produce a more compelling image than if you just focus on the object itself, which is what we tend to naturally do. So for example, in this image, I really shifted my focus on the space between the two viola da gambas and not on the instruments themselves. In this image, I wanted to capture the music flowed from the end of the flute and how the sound emanated throughout the space. And interesting objects will definitely produce interesting negative space. So this is just like in music, it's about what happens between the notes. We play in a way so that there's tension between the notes. One note leads to the next to create a phrase, and a series of phrases then tell a complete story. Also, pauses in music hold tension and never mean that nothing happens there. This way of thinking really changed how I thought about composition, both in music and in photography. So here's my personal tip to anyone who's interested in photography or music or both. Concentrate on the negative space or what's happening between the notes, and perhaps you'll discover something new. And lastly, I'd like to leave you with one more idea. We as artists spend a whole lifetime refining our craft and technique, But the ultimate point for me goes beyond the art that is produced. I feel it is the process that is most important. And for me, this process is a way to experience spirituality. A practice session or a photo shoot can be, in essence, really more like a meditation or a kind of self observation from the inside than just learning music for the next concert or capturing images. I'll be honest to say that it's not that way all the time because we are humans, but I do prefer to be in that mode or realm when it's possible. And this realization came to me especially this year as the world shut down due to the COVID pandemic, and we were and still are being forced to social distancing. I discovered astrophotography for myself and found much consolation being under the dark sky. And to practice this kind of photography requires patience, calmness, and a willingness to surrender to what you have at the given moment. So astrophotography is quite dependent on weather conditions. So even if you planned everything well in advance, nature still has the final say. So this is for me truly a spiritual exercise, if you would. And I like to see the images just as kind of a nice byproduct or a beautiful remembrance of my time. And as for music, my incentive is to feel a seamless connection between my breath and the sound produced. That in principle, my whole existence in that moment is completely in line with and in the flow of the music and of the sound. Every note and every phrase should feel absolutely effortless. And if you can imagine, kind of one note morphs into the next one. And this also ties in with what I was talking about earlier regarding playing between the notes. If I can be in that realm of existence, I really do feel a deep sense of joy and balance. So for me, that's what music making is all about. And if people enjoy listening to that, then really all the better. So now here's a simple slideshow of some images I captured this summer in southern Germany and in the Dolomites in Italy with a French air de cour or a court song played on solo flute. You'll see the title of the song at the very end of the slideshow, but I'd like you to just experience the music and the visuals without much additional information. So if you can just kind of sit back and let yourself sink into the landscape and sink into the music. as my final contribution here, I'd like to talk about a collaboration I have with the LA-based photographer and filmmaker Jeremy Evans. Jeremy and I met at the Dark Sky Festival in Death Valley in the USA this February, and he's actually also one of the reasons that I got into astrophotography. Sometime later, I asked if he'd like to collaborate to produce some kind of content combining music and the dark sky experience. Jeremy, being the good sport that he is, said immediately yes, and the result is a video of Comet NEOWISE setting at the horizon along with a medieval tune. I hope many of you had the chance to view NEOWISE this summer, as it was truly a very special event in our night sky. And just like my slideshow, perhaps this may give you a glimpse of the awe and wonder that I felt while being really surrounded by our universe. So please check out our Comet NEOWISE video here. It's only about a minute long, and the link or video player should be right nearby on this platform. I'd like to thank Yonit and Vlad for organizing this great hipster festival and for asking me to participate in this format. Big thank you and shout out to Jeremy Evans for the video collaboration and that we're able to show it here. I myself am excited to see what are the other contributions here on Wavelengths. So thank you very much for watching, and enjoy the rest of the festival. Take care. Bye-bye.